I think, unfortunately, you decided to twist the spirit of the topic that our listener was nice enough to send us, bastardized it, made a mockery of it, and I'm sure no one's now listening to this podcast because you decided to be Captain Comedy. Kirby the salesman was a happy, jolly soul with a microphone and a willing heart. He's ready to go. Broadcast episode number 128 of the Promo Upfront podcast. I am Bill Petrie, one of your hosts. The other host of this fine broadcast that I just mentioned, let's call him the Baron of Branding, the tank commander of Twitter Blue himself, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby! How the eggnog are you?
I'm doing well, man. When you podcast every week, right, you're going to have times where you're up and down and all over the place. But right now, I think in heading into this holiday season, I'm starting to get my arms around it. So I'm in a pretty good mental state right this minute. How are you, bud?
I'm good. I'd give right now where I'm at as a mental state 4 thumbs up, 3 thumbs sideways, and 6 thumbs down. So I'm not where you're at yet. I'm getting there. I've got a plan to get there. I'm going to drive there, but I'm still on that road. Just feel a little overwhelmed with kind of end of year stuff, but that's okay. Keeps me busy, which is good.
Yeah.
Kids are home. They're working, and things are going great. Hard to believe that literally 9 days from the day this podcast drops, it will be Christmas Day. Wow. So it is sneaking up on everybody. So you might want to get those gifts in soon. So it got me to thinking, though, Kirby, I know this year you have a fake tree. Historically, you get a real tree. Yeah. In the past, I've gotten real trees. We converted probably about 8-10 years ago to artificial tree. But it got me to thinking about being environmentally responsible this time of year, Kirby. And, a lot of suppliers talk about being environmentally responsible when it comes to their products. Thankfully, our sponsor today does more than just do that talk. Shepenko walks the walk as well. That's right. Shepenko is the name of our sponsor today. They are committed to creating branded merchandise solutions that are sustainable and don't contribute to the brand fill problem in our industry. In fact, they've gone so far as to partner with the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, to certify that their FSC pencil not only contains wood, that their FSC pencil only contains wood from well-managed forests. So what does that mean? It's a great question. Purchasing FSC labeled products means you support zero deforestation through responsible harvesting, fair wage in work environment, biodiversity preservation as plant and animal species are protected, and community rights as local people living in and around the forest areas are consulted and their legal and cultural rights to the land and forest resources are respected. Mm-hmm. Kirby, talk about an example of a supplier really stepping up to the plate when it comes to being environmentally responsible. I can't think of a better example than that.
Yeah. And I think that, with so many of us, we want to do the right thing from that standpoint, and having suppliers who kind of go through that process, and it allows us to go, okay, cool. Then I know exactly who I'm going to work with. You know what I mean? Like, so that I'm not having to go through all of those processes. Shepenko already has. And that's, if you have clients that really want that, that's really valuable.
Well, and it's another thing, and I agree with you. It's another thing. So many people say, "Oh, it's environmentally responsible," with nothing to back it up. This actually has certification from the Forest Stewardship Council, which is awesome. So I couldn't have said it better myself, Kirby. That FSC label might be small, but it's making an enormous impact by setting the standard for responsible forestry worldwide. Of course, you can head over to the brand new shepenko.com to see this and other sustainable writing instruments. Or if you're a little busy right now, that's fine. Maybe you're going to a trade show in January, so get out your writing instrument of your choice, preferably a Shepenko pencil,
right?
And jot this down. You can see them in person at ASI Orlando. That's booth 1211, or you can see them at PPAI Las Vegas at booth 5405. And it's a big deal. They're back in their normal space after a year away. So booth 5405 in Vegas, 1211 in Orlando, Shapenko. Go see Alex, Daniel, Dan, and the boys. You're going to have a great time. They're always a good hangout, and they'll show you some great products.
Love it, for sure.
All right, Kirby. I was thinking about this as I woke up. I want to really thank you for having the courage to have the promo upfront section of the podcast this morning, because there's not a damn thing to talk about in our industry. So
you are welcome. Actually, there is something to talk about it, and I want to thank our good pal Josh Robbins for providing said topic, because he reached out and there was a tweet that he saw that he said this might be an interesting topic for promo up front. And so, Josh, thanks. Or I could look at it like, hey, you've been on the podcast once. Now all of a sudden you're demanding us we do topics. I could kind of go both ways, but we're going to go with thanks. So one of the things he talked about really was the idea of the most iconic, or the sort of the Mount Rushmore of logos and brands. And so that got me to thinking. I know that's generally your thing, as you get to thinking, but got me to thinking of my favorite logos. And, in the interest of transparency, we did discuss that we were going to talk about this in advance so that we could do a little bit of homework. And so I did that. And so I guess I just wanted to sort of make a list, like kind of maybe go one back and forth, if that's good with you. And you had talked about sort of some different standards that helped us come up with a list, right?
Just to try to come up with, and again, thank you to Josh for giving us that. And if you have a topic you want us to talk about, please send it to us. We love that. Honestly, we really do. So I just decided to kind of put some parameters around it just to see if we could come up with some different things for the Mount Rushmore brand. So that means 4 brands. We would each pick 4 that are iconic. So 1, recognizability without the company name attached to it. That doesn't mean it won't include the company name. Right. It just means there's some recognizability without it. Longevity, and how often it's copied or parodied. So I have no idea where those came from. Yep. But that's what we came up with.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So
why don't you start us off, Kirby?
Yeah. And what was the first one again?
Recognizability without the company name attached to it. Now, and I did come up with a few others, because I have a feeling there might be some overlap. So if you pick one, I'm going to go to my reserve list just to get some other ones on there, because I know the first one you're going to pick is some sort of Greek god.
So it's funny. I doubt that that's true. So I would say the logo that I think is iconic, that is recognizable without the name,
worldwide.
Playboy.
I had that on my list.
So
that's awesome.
Okay, so that would be my first one.
No, it's 100% recognizable. I think as we get older, as generations, I think it's becoming less iconic. I think my kids and your kids would know what it is. I'm not sure their kids would know.
Fair. And maybe not even our kids, really.
But we're talking about point in time right now, and I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, I like that one.
So that was on my reserve list. On my reserve list.
Okay.
I'm going to go my number 1. And again, I think of it's iconic. It's been around for a long time, not forever. It's been around since the 50s. But it's copied and parodied a lot. And that would be McDonald's, that M, that iconic McDonald's M. I'm not talking about the food. I'm not talking about the quality of the food, but the brand itself. I mean, the fact that, we still, those of us of a certain age who watched, what was the movie Eddie Murphy was in? I can't think of the name of it right now.
McDowell's.
Coming to America.
Coming to America.
We talk about McDowell's, So I think when I think of it's simply a shaped letter in a certain color.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing in terms of a brand. So I had McDonald's. McDonald's up there.
I love that one. And that was, so what I did, and again, you and I tend to go about these things just a little bit differently, but I just made a list, right? And so that was literally the second logo I thought of was McDonald's, because it's just like so iconic. So that's a good one.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go next. What was the next category you had?
No. So it's all the same category. So it's just your 4.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go Apple.
Okay. Yep.
Because I'm waiting for you to mention the Greek god. But Apple is one of those iconic things that, again, without it saying Apple says Apple. And I think what I like is I think that the people who utilize those products, and there's more and more folks who do, but it built a tribe around that symbol. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, I had Apple on as my second one as well, for the same reason. It's the first brand that really created a movement. besides the Greek god. We're all talking about Nike. I just don't want Nike up there. It's too obvious. So I didn't choose it. I don't know if you did. Maybe you did.
It was number one on my list, but
yeah. So I mean, it's the obvious one, but I wanted to go a little deeper than that for me personally. I picked Apple for that same reason, tribe-wise. So I'm not going to talk about Apple. I think another one that hits that same level is Starbucks. Even though it does generally have the name in the logo, I mean, and it's a relatively new brand. I mean, it's what, 1976, I think, ish, somewhere around there. You know what if you see that green mermaid without the Starbucks name, you know exactly what it is everywhere. And if you're a coffee lover, it gets you going. It makes you think about that. So I think it's done a great job, again, of building that tribe, same way Apple has.
Yeah. Starbucks wasn't on my list. I don't love that logo, and
I don't love it either.
Yeah, and I don't.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. So, but I like what you're saying. So, I guess since we've danced around it, so here I'll use Nike. But then what I kind of like is Nike's its own sort of brand. But then the Jumpman Jordan logo, they've actually sort of created an iconic brand inside an iconic brand, and both of them are recognizable outside of the name. And so that would be my next one.
Well, and I can't argue with Nike. I mean, obviously it should be up there. I was just going to put it as an honorable mention. Obviously it should be up there. I think sometimes when we talk about brands, Nike's always discussed in detail. I think what really is becoming more interesting than ever, though, if you really look at it, I wonder, they started out as a shoe company. And I'd really like to know what of their revenue really still comes from shoes in terms of other apparel and things like that. I mean, they're really a brand company now, which is not a bad thing. It's just
a really good thing. Actually, it reminds me of something that Seth Godin said. And he was talking about the idea that a brand is more than a logo. And the reason he said Nike had a great brand is he said that if Nike created a hotel, I know exactly like what it would feel like.
It would be.
And I'm 100%. Like, that is really interesting to me. And it just popped into my head. He said Hilton, on the other hand.
Yeah.
It's not a brand.
No.
So it's very interesting. Yeah. So
no, it's a family of companies is what Hilton is. Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great observation. All right. What's your fourth one, Kirby, on your list?
So this is I've got several here. So I'm gonna go.
Gotta pick one. The guy's up there. The guy's up there with his hammer and chisel. He's ready to go. Come on,
that's right.
Let's have it.
I'm gonna have some fun with it. Batman. Yep, it's a franchise. So, and I was like literally looking through all of these logos, and I know I'm going a little bit wonky on it. I get that, but it was like I was looking through all the logos of all the things. I'm like, you know what? Superheroes, franchises, whatever. That is one of those things that when I see it, it just draws me in. So a little bit weird, but Batman.
By that, I could have the guy. By your logic, I could have the guy on Mount Rushmore much more chisel out some Frankenstein Van Halen stripes, because it's the same thing. I was more thinking of companies, but we'll go. I will accept your weird Batman thing. I actually chose a different one. The last one I chose was, and I really thought about this. Like, okay, this is long lasting. What does it mean? And I went with Shell Oil.
Okay.
Those colors are iconic. That red and yellow, super, super, super iconic. Okay. Number two, it is a shell. I mean, you don't have to see the word shell. You know exactly what it is. I just think it's one of the best drawn brands. It's our logos. It's one of the ones that really, again, immediately I see it, I know what it is. Do I love Shell Oil? No, I don't. I just think that logo, it's super clean.
Okay.
It's very attractive. And it would look really good on Mount Rushmore besides Batman. Now I have a couple honorable mentions I'm gonna throw out here that I did consider.
Yeah, I'll throw.
I'm sure you have some too.
Yeah.
FedEx, I had that on there. I bet you did too.
I did, yeah.
MTV is one I had, but
that's a good one.
Me, doesn't make the longevity, right? MTV doesn't mean today what it did a million years ago, and I don't think half people would know what that logo is in 10 years. So
yeah, I like that.
And then the last one, last two, I had Amazon.
Okay.
But the one I really struggled with, and it was between this and Shell for the last one, if you want me to be honest, was Target.
Target.
Again,
FedEx and Target. Those are my last two. Yeah.
Very simple, clean logo.
That means,
and I know
exactly what
it means.
Says, yeah.
I know what the experience is going to be and all that. So I know Shell's a weird one and you're going to poo-poo it, but don't poo-poo. Let's not poo-poo.
No, I'm not. I didn't poo-poo Shell like you poo-pooed Batman. I mean, it's fine. But you do what you want to do.
I think
Life's
you
about
twisted. I think unfortunately you decided to twist the spirit of the topic that our listener was nice enough to send us, bastardized it, made a mockery of it, and I'm sure no one's now listening to this podcast because you decided to be Captain Comedy. You know what? I need to amp up this podcast now because of your whole Batman thing. I got to amp it up. Hey, distributors, I got a question for you. Do you need to level up your email and social media marketing next year? Well, of course you do. There's no better time than right now because Promo Pulse is running a holiday sale. Who doesn't love a holiday sale, Kirby? Batman, probably.
Yeah.
Get a jump start on 2023 and save up to 20% on AMP when you buy an annual plan. So head over to promopulse.io/AMP. Kirby, will they be sorry they did?
They will not be sorry they did.
All right, Kirby. So I've got a visual aid here. Have you seen the new Twitter blue logo?
I have, as a matter of fact.
And I know you have because I sent it to you. This is I think this is our most prepared for podcast in the history of podcasting.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen the Twitter blue logo, I'd Google it while you're listening, or you can look on the screen. I printed it out for you. That's the Twitter blue logo.
Yep.
So I want to talk about that for a second, Kirby. Now, Elon Musk, in all his wisdom, paid $44 billion for Twitter.
Yep.
The company's hemorrhaging money. It was before he bought it.
Yeah.
Now it's really hemorrhaging money. He's fired, laid off more than half the staff. I think it's actually closer to 3/4 have left. I'm not sure on that, so don't fact check me. But that's the best you could do. I mean, that logo, it's like this throwback to the 80s and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Right? It's a big throwback to the 80s. So here's what I for those of you who are just listening, it combines the word blue with the Twitter bird in the bee. So that's the only recognizable thing. But it's a weird combination of a 1980s porn production, the movie Tron.
Tron is exactly
the old Sega logo. The old Sega logo and a Corel Draw clip art CD.
Yeah.
It is the absolute worst. I mean, in all seriousness, there's no structure to the lettering at all. It's so tone on tone. It's barely legible. Truthfully, It really. I'm going to put it on the cover of the podcast this week. It's so bad. There is no way this could ever be reproduced on any sort of merchandise.
Yeah,
properly. Right. No possible way. There's so many gradients and weird lights and lines. It's not even blue. It's like some weird mashup between like purple and pink.
Yeah.
So Kirby, I've said what I had to say about it. What say you?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think that they purposefully were trying to, kind of do a throwback, I guess, which for what it's worth is kind of weird. I think it's kind of weird based on what you're doing. Because I think if I'm understanding correctly, the Twitter blue concept is that they're going to try to monetize the people who have verified accounts, right? Which I think that's actually an interesting concept. Yeah. But the idea of that being a throwback, I really don't understand. So it for me, it's a disconnect from the logo to what they're trying to do, which is, as we just had this whole concept of logos and iconic logos, they put you in a state of mind, right? When you see the Nike swoosh, you just do it. You are in a go and grind and whatever. They put you in a state of mind. I have no idea what the hell that one's trying to accomplish. Yeah. And I hadn't thought of the porn thing. Tells me a little bit about you, but the Tron concept, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it says. And I'm like, from my perspective, this is one of those things I'm like, Elon did this. He actually did this.
100%.
And this is his logo that he created. Yeah. So and that makes sense, or he is catfishing everybody and he's just screwing with everyone. So because it's just atrocious. It's just bad.
My thought is it's a throwback to the 80s, which I don't care about, but your company didn't exist in the 80s, so that is weird.
Yes.
I think it's a throwback to Elon's life in the 80s. I think this is what he experienced in the 80s. He probably loved Tron, maybe loved movies like Little Often Annie. I have no idea. But this is clearly a vanity play for Elon Musk. Exactly what you just said. it is such a disconnect from the brand itself.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We know he's trying to monetize Twitter Blue, $8, I believe, a month to be verified, which take whatever that even means, but you would allow you to control the platform to your liking a little more, allow you to I believe edit your tweets, things like that. Are you going to be a Twitter Blue customer, Kirby? Answer us now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've considered it. Because I think $8 a month is not crazy, and
Right.
if it would allow me to enjoy the Twitter platform more, I think that would be great. Because right now, Twitter, I have more followers on Twitter than I do on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Right.
But the level of engagement, the level of clicks, and all the response to the content, it's not even on the same planet. And so it's interesting to me. So I don't know that I can definitively answer whether I'm going to do it. I'm considering it, but that logo isn't helping.
No, it's not. And I pulled the trigger. I am now verified. I did Twitter Blue.
Oh, nice. Okay,
I figured,
cool.
okay, and the only reason I did it was I want to see what the $8 gets me.
Yeah.
It's $8. I'll probably cancel it. I don't, so far the experience, it's not any different. It's a lot of coming soon. Coming soon, you can categorize your news feed. Coming soon, you can do this. So, like you put out more content than I do by a long shot. But again, my engagement on Twitter is okay.
Yeah, yours is. I think you work at it though. That's one of the things I would say with Twitter is you have to. What I mean is you have to like reply and do all the join those chats and stuff like that. You do a better job with that than me.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes I'm like, it just feels exhausting to once you're doing all the other platforms too. So
and so to me, Twitter's easier to deal with than LinkedIn. LinkedIn feels so much like Facebook to me. I forget about it. I completely because to me the interface is so similar.
Sure. Yeah.
If I was woke up at 3 a.m. and needed to post something and I put it on LinkedIn, I could have just as easily put it on Facebook. It's the same exact experience, and so
I view that as a positive, not a negative. So so it's just interesting.
I view it as a negative for me.
Right.
Because to me, going to LinkedIn feels like a redundant experience. So I have to really make sure I do it.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter all feel organic to themselves. But that's beside the point. We're not talking about that. So I think it'll be interesting to see, first of all, again, the conversation, the Twitter Blue logo, I think we both agree is abysmal. It means nothing to everybody. So congratulations, Elon Musk. But I think the bigger conversation is Twitter Blue going to save this company? Because I'm not sure Twitter's even around in a year, which kind of bums me out. For me, when news is happening, whether it's sports or regular news,
what's trending?
I do go to Twitter. I always go to Twitter. When Mike Leach, who coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, football coach, had what sounds like a sudden cardiac arrest in his home and unfortunately passed away. I mean, that's where I went to get the quickest updates. That's immediately where I go. So I hope Elon figures it out, and I hope he keeps it as pure as possible. Let's leave it at that.
And I hope that he hires a design firm next time that has ever.
Hell, he should hire me.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. All right, you got another one?
So we could potentially make this quick, but we've done logos, then we've done logos with social media. So this is fascinating to me, and I think it's sort of a developing story. So we're seeing more and more states banning the use of TikTok. Many states have recently banned TikTok on government devices. Many of you know that TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. And the way that works is that sometimes if the Chinese government requires them to turn over data, then maybe they are forced to. So, but it's fascinating how many headlines we're seeing. I went through this morning, and there's the Texas and Arkansas and Wisconsin, and these are lots of states are looking to ban TikTok on government devices. So I guess I find it interesting because obviously TikTok is uber popular. So is this a big deal? Will TikTok go away? What's your take, man?
Man, and I'll be honest with you. This is where I hate to say this phrase, but it's accurate. I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
I'm at a point in my life where I really struggle to know what is the truth,
Mm,
what is some sort of opinion-based fact,
yeah,
what
yeah.
is somebody's agenda they're pushing forward. So I'm going to look at it as purely as I can. I've not read a lot about it. I've seen the headlines.
It's fair,
I've read a
fair.
couple articles, but where there's smoke, there's fire.
Hmm.
Politically, from a political alignment perspective, China and the United States are not aligned politically. And I think we'd be foolish to think that there weren't some sort of subterfuge on some level or another to manipulate things. And I think we do it to them too. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
know, and I don't want to get into political discussion here. We're talking about a social media app. Here's what I think, and I find troubling: the Chinese version of TikTok is radically different than our version and the
Mm,
rest of the world's version. And people should read up on that. So
okay.
the Chinese version is much more educational based. It limits people's time on it. Whereas ours are dancing people and fun things, and they're fun. Don't get me wrong. I've gotten on TikTok as much as I've slammed it. I've found some cool recipes and things on there too.
Hmm.
I do think there's a concern that because it is a communist government, that they might turn over the data. Now, the question is, what would they do with that data? What data is on there that they could actually leverage? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. So, to me, it's one of those things. Honestly, Kirby, I don't know. And I hate to say that. It's not because I don't want to be informed. It's because I don't know who to believe anymore.
Right.
And that's an absolute factual statement. So, I think there's enough smoke here to it bears watching.
Yeah.
I think it is smart that it's not on government devices. I think that just makes common sense, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it should probably go beyond that. I think people's choices in this country, you want to put your data out there, that's your call. But on a government device, yeah, if it's, or a company issued device, by the way, if it's issued
Mm, right.
and owned by the government, they get to tell you what's on it, what's not on it. So
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
kind of my thought. I guess I finally did get to an opinion.
No, it's good. And to be fair, I just totally threw that at you. So I don't know. I think that, all of these platforms probably have a shelf life or a lifespan or whatever.
Right.
Um, is it a big deal? I think it's a big deal in the sense that, um, man, people are really growing platforms. But I think, and so if you are someone who's a TikTok influencer, like you've spent the time, you've done the work, and you've
Yeah.
built up a following
Oh, it'd be
on TikTok,
horrible.
that would be very big bummer. But it goes to, I talk a lot about the idea, the difference between rented media and owned media. And it
Yeah.
goes back to my point on that is if the platform goes away and that's the only place you have leverage, then you have a problem.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. 100%.
The other thing I think you're seeing is some of the other platforms working to mimic what's working
Sure.
there. So I think, if it were to go away, you'd be able to use the skill set that you've developed on TikTok to do it in other places. So it's, to me, it's just interesting. And like you said, when the smoke fire, like when you start seeing this many things, you're like, okay, maybe it's just a political thing, maybe. But
I don't
I
know.
think as marketers, though, I think it's important that we
Yeah.
pay attention to those platforms. And
Oh,
if they're, if there's trouble, then,
yeah.
we need to be aware of it. So that's,
But the flat answer to your question, though, should, or is it okay? Is it, should governments, state governments ban TikTok from government issued devices? They should ban whatever they want from government issued devices, whether
yeah,
it's your own personal email account, whether it's, it doesn't matter, whether it's
yeah.
games. It's, that I have no issue with. And to me, that's not the larger question. The larger question is what you and I are talking about. And you're right. There's always this copying thing. I look at the world's social media as this mountain where everybody thinks there's this peak and pinnacle, and there's not. But you have
Mm-hmm.
all these companies scrambling. So somebody gets a little higher because they roll out Vine, which was what
Mm-hmm.
Twitter's thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then somebody rolls out a different video platform. They get ahead. It's everybody just scrambling, trying to get to the top. And I'm not sure there is a top. I
Yeah.
think it's this perpetual race of trying to, so TikTok comes out with something really cool, and certainly, I mean, captivated millions of people. So I mean, I'm not going to crap on the app at all, but someone will do it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone will do it cleaner. Someone will do it more efficiently. And so you're right when you say the skills will translate to a different platform. But from a marketing perspective, it absolutely bears watching. All right, Kirby. Good call. Good. Do you have anything else to say, or can I move on to the last thing real quick? All right. So in just 3 weeks ish, we're all leaving for Las Vegas. Woo! And I didn't realize this. My first PPI Expo was actually in Dallas. So that's how old I am. This year marks 20 years in Vegas. Okay. So this will actually be my 22nd Expo. I did 2 years in Dallas, and then I've done the 20 in Vegas, or we omit a year for the 2021 COVID year, but I still think it's the 20th anniversary of Vegas PPI being hosted at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. So I wanted to quiz you on a couple things 20 years ago, Kirby. So get on your quiz hat. All right. I want to talk about some prices of things 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, given inflation, I just thought this would be kind of interesting. Some of these surprised me, some of these didn't. Okay. So Kirby, 20 years ago, what was the cost of a dozen eggs?
Cost of a dozen eggs 20 years ago, like just not in Vegas, just
no, not in Vegas. It's just going groceries.
Okay.
Average price.
20 years ago, put me at 28. So I'd go $2.
$1.03. Loaf of bread, Kirby.
I was gonna say $1. Damn. Loaf of bread. $1.50.
$1.02.
Okay.
A 1 pound of sweet smoky bacon.
1 pound. I'm not doing well so far.
It's okay.
I would go to $2.
You're a little low there. $3.24. So that one is one that surprised me. So pork must have been pretty expensive in 2002. 1 gallon of milk, Kirby.
$2.
All right. 276. 276, not too far off. All right. So now we're going to talk about
everything's $2 in my world.
So now we're going to talk about you getting to Vegas. You getting to Vegas and going to Vegas. So Kirby, 2002, what was the price of a gallon of gas as you drove to CMH, your airport of choice, to get to Las Vegas? A gallon of gas.
2002. Would it be weird if I said $1.99? $2?
No. Okay. No, it'd be wrong, but it wouldn't be weird.
Well, I'm not planning on having it exactly right.
I know. Well, then you're playing the game wrong.
Yeah.
No, $1.61. $1.61. So you weren't too far off.
Okay.
All right, Kirby. You get hungry at the airport, gotta have a Big Mac. How much was a Big Mac in 2002?
Just the sandwich or the meal?
Just a sandwich.
I'm gonna go
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, all on a sesame seed bun.
Well done. $2.50.
Not bad, Kirby. $2.39 and feeling fine until you actually eat it. All right. So the price of an average hotel room in Las Vegas, you get to Las Vegas, the price of an average hotel room in Las Vegas in 2002, Kirby, per night, just one night.
$87.
$76.40. All right. I should have done this in reverse order. Average cost of a plane ticket, Kirby, in 2002.
Round trip or one way?
Round trip, please.
$400.
$154.92.
I don't think so. That seems way low.
It was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it probably takes into account all the larger airports that have cheaper prices than
that seems.
You have an international airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have an international airport there, but it is more regional than international in terms of size. Not a criticism, just an is. All right, Kirby, you get to Vegas. You want to have a cocktail. What was the price of an average cocktail in Las Vegas in 2002?
So I of course will get this wrong, but I will say that
this floored me, by the way. This one floored me.
The price of cocktails have gone commiserately with what I was making, so they always seem really expensive. Average cocktail, so not a beer, a cocktail. So I'm gonna go
cocktail.
$8.
$3.50, Kirby.
All right,
that stunned me.
That would be a lot less. Yes.
All right, now this one I would like you to really think about.
Okay.
And then we're done. This is not a price one. What was the most popular cocktail in 2002, Kirby? The most ordered cocktail that year.
2002. It feels like there's something I'm missing that will be substantial, but I'm going to go Jack and Coke.
I think Jack and Coke's always a great guess. According to the internets that I looked at, it was the vodka Red Bull,
So Red
which
Bull
makes
was, yeah,
sense because
yeah,
that's about when Red Bull started coming up, and that was a
yeah,
big,
yeah. That makes
big
sense.
drink.
Yeah. It also makes
So
sense
good.
at the expo because you need a little push
Yeah,
and a little
it
pull.
is. It does. You know, it also makes sense, Kirby. Being environmentally responsible when it comes to your promotional products. That's right. Our pals over at Shapenco have partnered with the Forest Stewardship Council to certify that their FSC pencil only contains wood from well-managed forests. They actually have a certificate. They've gone through the vetting process. This is similar. You know, I'm not going to say on the level of being a B corporation, but you do go through a vetting process so that the wood that is being sourced to make these pencils is coming from sustainable forests, zero deforestation, fair wage and work environment. You heard all that at the top of the podcast. I know that Dan, Daniel, and Alex would love to see you on their new website at shapenco.com, or if you're heading to Orlando, see them at booth 1211, or in Las Vegas at booth 5405. Now, Kirby, I want to wish you a very happy Festivus. I don't know when that is coming up, but in all seriousness, this drops on Friday. Sunday is Hanukkah. So to all of our Jewish friends, we wish you the happiest of Hanukkahs and hope you have a wonderful 8-night festival of lights. And Kirby, we'll be back here next week recording at, let's call it a tinsel level next week.
Love it.